Becca, you've gone for Zelensky, saying that Euro forces in Ukraine will be led by the UK.
Yeah, this is really interesting. So this is sort of Zelensky kind of outlining what he would love the terms of this sort of peace deal that that's being worked on in Florida between the US, representatives of Russia and Ukraine, and him kind of putting forward this idea that kind of the UK and France forces would be a kind of key part in sort of peacekeeping. Once a ceasefire were to be agreed, Zelensky telling us that kind of 90% of his ideas and demands are being incorporated in the draft peace deal. I mean, we were talking about this earlier, and I think probably maybe Zelensky's slightly overstating how much he'll get to dictate the terms of this peace deal when we think about kind of Putin's kind of lack of interest in bringing this conflict to a close. Trump very keen to bring this conflict to a close. So kind of three quite different perspectives. But the UK playing potentially quite a key role in Zelensky's vision for ensuring peace, in Europe.
I think the really interesting thing as well on this, Jade, is that in Europe last week we were debating whether we'd see up to £200 billion worth of money freed up for Ukraine. Or instead we saw, whether that came from frozen Russian assets or not, instead we saw half of that amount, 70, 80 billion. And if you sort of go on these estimates of how much this war is costing Ukraine, that gives them less than a year's worth of funding.
Yep.
So I think, however fair or unfair all these things are, there's much more pressure on Zelensky to make sure something gets done in the next 12 months, which is still a long time horizon relative to some of these expectations of how soon a deal is. But it does slightly change the dynamic as to whether he thinks he's got, endless supplies to keep this going if the deal's not palatable to him.
Yeah, quite. Well, European forces, particularly UK and France, are still sort of spearheading the way, but it sounds like their contribution and involvement is more to this interesting point about potentially deploying troops rather than potentially deploying just hard cash, right? What I will say is I reckon that the Prime Minister will be quite chuffed with this story. This is one of the most profoundly successful policy areas for the government, probably the most. And they'll be particularly keen to be seen, regardless of how much they currently contribute, how much they'll be seen to be leading the charge when Trump's quite a turbulent character. And
it's, of course, in the Daily Mail as well, that one. Next up, Jade, you've gone for In the Mirror, page 10, reflecting on Starmer's latest Christmas message.
Yes, well, you've heard of the King's speech. Now there's the Keir's speech. And he has led with thanks to...
He's opening a Christmas cracker there, so there would be a crown inside. He could have...
Yes, he'd quite like that. He led with a message about frontline workers. It's quite surprising. 1.2 million people work on Christmas Day along the front lines, carers, nurses and retail staff. And he laid out 17 tables in a single run-through of the first floor to host 93 public sector workers with handwritten cards, which is actually very sweet. He's obviously looking to sort of speak on that sort of politics of public services and also the cost of living he touched on, which are obviously areas that the government would like to sort of show quite a bit of graft.
It's interesting on the, if we move on to the politics a bit, Becca, the cost of living is such a key factor that helped him win victories. And has been something that they repeatedly come back to. They've got a bit of better news on inflation in the most recent report. Better than expected print. It came down significantly from the month before, but it's still over 3%. And it is repeatedly in recent years something that always damages the party in power, and it is persistent.
Yeah, absolutely, and kind of ties to the conversation we were just having about Ukraine and the kind of the fact that the energy costs and just kind of what is happening in that conflict and the impact it's having on British households. He is doing a great job on the kind of foreign stage, but I think kind of here, I think lots of people probably watching this right now or probably watching his video wouldn't feel like there's been a huge amount of progress when it comes to alleviating the cost, and Christmas being that time when costs compound. And you really do feel the pinch. We're all spending more. You've got all your Christmas lights on, etc. It really kind of compounds that problem. I think kind of actually quite brave to mention it in his Christmas message, because I think it kind of leaves him slightly vulnerable to criticism that they aren't doing enough and quickly enough to help the people that need it.
Anyway, our thanks, as has already been noted, to all of those core workers working on Christmas Day. As you said, surprisingly, over 1 million of them. Next up, Jade again, Times, page 2. Tories debating
Yes, quite a fun story, this. So Shadow Cabinet are using AI-generated clones written by chatbots to sort of compete and practice against their digital twin and their opposite number in the House of Commons. So this is essentially a story that there is a ChatGPT somewhere that emulates Ed Miliband and, a myriad of all government ministers, and somewhere out there is a chatbot that has picked up the personalities of the cabinet.
I mean, I guess that also means there could be one that emulates us as journalists who quiz them, and it might not just have to be for practice before too long. It's all rather worrying.
Don't say that.
But what I think is quite funny about this, actually, though, as I was reading this in the break coming up to it, stepping back over the last 5 years, there's so much pre-prepared practice for politicians, for journalists, for interviews, everything. And it kind of speaks to that, this. I mean, maybe AI makes it not pre-prepared because it thinks on its feet, but I don't think it's got to that point yet. And again, you come back to it so often, I think, why have we seen Zohran Mamdani win? Why have we seen Zach Polanski shoot up in the polls, Farage over recent years? I think it's because they actually pause and think to respond to a question afresh, even if it might be like, somebody in the back room told me not to say this. And this kind of, for me, gets to that problem in general in British politics, which is...
authenticity.
Yeah, be authentic. Answer the question. Say what you think. And if you're pre-practicing everything like this, it probably doesn't yield that result.
It's the pint test, isn't it? Can you picture yourself having a pint down the local with them? I don't think this particularly helps that case.
What having a pint with a...
Having a pint with a chatbot.
Yeah, well, increasingly you could. If you're on your own, you can have a pint at home and have someone to talk to.
Completely up to you.
Each to their own. Boxing Day curry, Becca, we've gone for next. I like the sound of this.
Yeah, this is a little bit of kind of public service broadcasting, I think, actually. This is giving everyone a little bit of a kind of clue as to what to do on Boxing Day when you're maybe feeling a little bit delicate after a slightly indulgent Christmas day. There is actual science that backs up that having a turkey curry on Boxing Day can help alleviate some of those kind of hangover symptoms. You know, when you're feeling a little bit groggy after too much, insert your biggest indulgence. So it's the ingredient of turmeric in curry can apparently help alleviate the hangover, like how you feel when you're hungover. It's been tested on men and women, so it works for kind of all parts, everyone in your family. But I think that tradition of the turkey curry has been around for a long time, but now it's backed by actual hardcore science from a South Korean university.
The only problem is, if this is meant to be your hangover cure, is it also then triggers, oh, what do I have with a curry? A pint.
Yes, yeah.
This is true.
Right.
This is true.
You know, it's not going to be a perfect solution. But listen, I welcome it on basically every level. There's always leftover turkey, so it seems like... By the way, I didn't think we picked the story next to it. Have we still got the picture of this to bring up?
Yes, this is a happy story.
Yeah, this one pairs very nicely with the hangover.
Yeah, so whilst you're indulging in your turkey curry to get over your hangover, it's also suggesting you should have a few glasses of wine to cut your dementia risk.
There we go. So that we should also say, saying low to moderate drinking should be considered as part of dementia prevention in those who don't have liver disease or a risk of alcohol dependence. So, of course, everything in moderation and done sensibly. By the way, should we just also dwell on that page? Tess takes a special 12 for Christmas in the Strictly final. This jumped out to me, again, not one that we picked specifically, but I guess she's never done a dance, apparently.
No, always a presenter, never a dancer.
Wow.
So we look forward to that as well.
Yeah, there we go.
Right, on to the Mirror, Jade, Boxing Day football and a lack of it.
Yes.
So there is some, but not much.
Just one Premier League game this Boxing Day, which is quite shocking. It's United versus Newcastle.
And it's not till 8 p.m.
And not until 8 p.m.
It's not really Boxing Day, it's Boxing Eve. It is annoying, though.
It's actually quite remarkable, yes. And the General Secretary of the Co-op Party, Joe Fortune, said this is about monetisation of football, coming above the experience of fans. I feel like that's a theme that's being played out quite a bit. Obviously, the FIFA tickets as well. There's a lot to be said about sort of protecting football fans, and this might be a last kick in the baubles, as this just...
The last kick in the baubles. It is obviously very much down to the TV schedules. Yeah. There's a nuance to it, which is just where the days fall this year, because they also have to make sure the majority of each weekend fixtures are on a Saturday, and because Boxing Day is It's Friday? What day is the week? It's Wednesday, yeah. So Boxing Day is Friday. There's something to do with then having to make it all work out over the weekend.
Right.
So I think it is primarily down to the TV rights and the rules and all the stuff around that. But equally, if Christmas falls on a slightly different day next year, then it won't be as bad. This isn't going to be the rule going forward. I think.
That's a great relief, isn't it?
But it is annoying that the Boxing Day match, which I think is Newcastle versus City, is 8 p.m. because.
Dozing off at that point, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly.
You've had your curry.
You've had your curry and your
Alzheimer
2 glasses of wine.
And you're ready to go.
And your pint and everything else. OK, final one on this section, again in the Mirror, spending more on dogs at Christmas.
I mean, this is astounding, isn't it? So the UK spend nearly £400 million a year on Christmas presents for their dogs.
Mad.
Which is kind of bananas, isn't it? So the Mirror have got this great case study of Coco, who is an incredibly lucky dog, who is getting £450 worth of presents this year. And Carla, who's the owner's husband, is getting a gift card. Getting a card, rather, not even a gift
Carla,
card.
is only giving her husband, Henry...
Yes. A card.
A card, yeah.
Yes, and the majority of the money going on Coco the dog. I mean, we are a nation that loves dogs, so maybe this is all to be expected. I wonder if the dog appreciates it. I mean, it poses lots of questions.
Looks very
really.
happy. Yeah,
how do you spend that much money on a dog? What are we,
Yeah, I mean, and how much do they appreciate
exactly
it relative to the rest? There's some interesting quotes in here as well. A handmade collar, 2 hand-painted bowls. All sorts of treats. Treats I get. That makes sense.
It's a lot of money on treats, though.
And I get also that dogs perhaps are the most deserving, more so than many of us. Yeah. But I'm just not sure exactly whether they fully appreciate it. But although Coco in this picture looks like she's fully... Coco, I presume, is a girl's name?
I was assuming girl.
Yep. Well, Merry Christmas to Coco.
Right.
Merry Christmas.
She's going to have a great day.
To Carla, but also, may I say, particularly Merry Christmas to Henry, if all you're getting is a card.
And a happy dog.
We wish you very Merry Christmas, and to everyone watching, we'll be back after this short break with all the top headlines. Lovely.
What's the best thing about being a Sky News presenter?